But even though we are very easily saying we are having mind is made up of two parts. Part of our mind, the basic nature of our mind is consciousness. Consciousness is the very substratum, very basic structure of our mind. The basic structure of our mind, superficial part of our mind is the intellect part. Intellect and consciousness joins together as mind. So, about two parts, consciousness and intellect. And in the consciousness, if we know that we are having some fear, anger, sorrow, suffering, everything is conscious. This is a feeling. What we feel, what we have conscious of that is our consciousness, is our feeling. The other part of our mind is the intellect part. The intellect part is made up of our knowledge. We have many ideas, we gather many knowledge about many things, and we use the knowledge and idea, and we act according to the knowledge and idea. That is the intellect part. In daily life, we use our intellect, and because of our intellect alone, we can live in this world. Otherwise, if you do not use your intellect, you cannot even return to your native place, native house itself.
Yes.
Because only because of our intellect, we can do something. Otherwise, you cannot do. So, the intellect part, but the intellect part is all the intellect part, the content of the intellect is only the collected knowledge. All collected knowledge is of past experience. What has been completed, what has gone through, all the past experience, past knowledge is gathered, it is stored as our memory. And our intellect functions only with the help of our memory. And the intellect cannot function without any memory. So the memory is the product, and by which alone our intellect can function. So all our memory is of the past. There cannot be any actuality. So we may have happiness now, and it recorded as memory. So when the intellect says, I have the experience of this happiness, it is a recorded memory. But actually, when we feel happiness, it is a feeling, it is an experience. So the intellect alone, by intellect alone we can use intellect, and thereby we can lead our life. So the intellect alone is the tool by which you do everything. We can operate our intellect, think for ourselves. And as the intellect is doing everything, the intellect also wants to have control over consciousness, conscious feeling also. However we try, however the intellect cannot have control over the conscious feeling. Because all conscious feeling happens under your conscious command. Of that, it happens naturally. That is the nature of our consciousness. And this consciousness is also part of our mind. Intellect is also part of our mind. Even though they belong to the same one single whole of the same thing, the one part of the intellect, one part of the mind, that is intellect, it cannot control over the other part of the own mind. So the happenings, all our conscious feeling is the natural happening.
Does it happen, no? Like when you think differently? What's called positive thinking?
But if you set your mind like that, it will not always follow your command.
That's true.
That takes, to some extent you can try.
Okay.
But sometimes you may be successful, but you have to meet failure many times.
Okay.
But in spite of your working, some conscious feeling happens naturally. So that is the nature of our mind, nature of our consciousness. But the real problem is not in the consciousness, conscious feeling. But we think the problem is in the conscious level. Because we feel unhappy, we feel sorrow, we feel fear, we think we are having we are not in a good position, good nature. So we want to change. But actually we are thinking that our consciousness is not in a good condition. We have to change it. But actually that is not the problem. We think it is the problem, but the real problem, it is not the real problem. Real problem is only in the contour, in the intellectual level. In the intellect alone decides this I want, this I don't want. But if the intellect simply disappear from the scene and allow the natural flow of the consciousness, the problem solves itself. It may not solve any of your problem. Because no consciousness, no conscious expression will last for more than a few seconds, for a fraction of a second. Each and every moment, new feeling, new consciousness, new expression alone can come. There cannot be any conscious happening constantly. Whatever comes, it has to be new by moment, it has to be new. So naturally it solves itself.
That is only if we let it be, right? We get into the habit of change it. We don't let it be.
But the intellect part assumes the responsibility for the change of consciousness. But the consciousness not in the hands of the intellect, because the intellect is not the actual part. Intellect is only an imaginary part, because all the content is only related to the past memory. But what we are having is the real present, the real being. What we are having in the field of consciousness is real. It is an event. It is a living thing. But the content of our intellect is only related to the past memory. It is not a living thing. It is the memory of the old one. And the intellect always tries to have control over the consciousness. So the aptitude of the intellect alone has to be changed, not the consciousness.
There is some kind of suffering or fear. It's spontaneously desire to change it.
Yeah.
So would you say that desire is intellect? The desire to change suffering, or desire to end fear, or whatever unpleasant feelings we have.
But if you have
the desire,
if you have the desire to change, or if the desire happens unconsciously, that is not the mind of the intellect. But if you are consciously trying, consciously desire, consciously have a decision that I must change this one, then only that is the intellect. So if your desire happens instinctively, unintentionally, then it is not the part of the intellect. So the intellect comes when you are sitting for yourself and decide and that I have to do this thing, I should not do that thing. Then only it is the part of the intellect. So if the intellect thinks like that and does anything, that is actually disturbing the natural flow of the consciousness. The intellect does not come to the scene, all salvation happens naturally.
There seems to be this at the instinctual level to avoid or to change whatever unpleasant feelings we have. What to do with that instinctual thing?
But the instinct, it is not in our hand.
So
but all we have is only in the intellectual level. That is in our hand. But the instinct and our natural happening, everything is not in our hand. So but the problem is not in the instinct, problem not in the conscious expression of our feelings. But we think, the intellect alone thinks that everything is in the hands of the intellect, and if it decides, it can change the whole thing. But if you decide like that, however you can try, you can never change the field. Because it is, if the intellect does not come to the scene, and if the intellect does not take any responsibility, then all changes happens by itself. You need not try to change anything. Even your instinct may also change. The conscious may also change. Everything is natural. So the understanding that the intellect cannot have any function related to the conscious level, that kind of understanding is known as enlightenment or understanding. In what way you can take. It is related to the intellectual level. But the consciousness is if your consciousness is uninterrupted by the interference of the intellect, the uninterrupted consciousness is the liberated consciousness. So liberation is related to your consciousness, and enlightenment is related to our intellectual part. So here, what is required is only the intellectual clarification. you are clarified intellectually, then everything is okay. In the case of surrender, if you put everything in the hands of God, that is surrender. So because you have no business and you place everything in the hands of God, thereby the intellect assumes any responsibility. So here also the surrender happens. And when you have the surrender, that means the intellect does not interfere with anything. So when the intellect does not interfere, so naturally our consciousness goes without any interruption. So the uninterrupted flowing of our consciousness is liberation. It happens in the case of surrender also.
What about action, decision making?
What action?
Coming here.
Oh, that is only part of the intellect. This intellect is having some jurisdiction over the external world.
It doesn't have.
It may have the action. It may have the action to the external world. Then only we can live in this world. So you have your intellect. You can use your intellect to the external circumstances and to all the day-to-day life. But you have no jurisdiction with regarding to your consciousness. So that alone the intellect has to understand where it can operate, where it cannot operate.
I mean to say, like, as far as the body is concerned, like being here, coming, kind of decisions, the intellect has a place.
Intellectual has a place.
So it's the intellect that decides. Okay, I want to go here, I want to go there, and things like that. But action, physical action.
Physical action.
And at the level of feelings, you're saying just let it be.
Let it be.
You have no over that.
If your intellect is sure that we have no business with related to the conscious feeling, then the matter is over. But if you, by your inquiry or anything, if you come to the conclusion, this is known as the self-inquiry process or the enlightenment through self-inquiry process. And thereby it causes the liberation of your consciousness. But the liberation comes even in the case of, in this case, surrender. The surrender to God also, when you are putting all the responsibility in the hands of God, your intellect does not take any responsibility to change yourself. So thereby also the same thing happens. Matter is the one thing, but if you, in this way, some yoga process, if you practice any yoga process means, you have put some meditation or anything, for the time being you can have your consciousness under your control. But it is a process to shape your consciousness. But it will not help you always. For the time being it will be helpful. But afterwards you have to do it again and again, but it is not a necessary thing. For the time being it may be helpful.
So if there is suffering or fear or hurt, there is instinctually desire to change that, avoid it, get rid of it. It's two forces. Would you say let them play out and just watch? Is that what you mean?
No, here for external action, for example, if you go on in a dark place and you have the fear that some snake may come around along the way, so you have some fear in your mind, and you can use the mind. You can use the fear. Thereby you can carefully walk on the road, or you can just avoid the road and take some other road. So you can make use of that. But instead of that, if you have to go there, and you have the awareness and you have all the precautions, and you carefully walk on the way, and you, in spite of you take the instruction of your mind, instructions given by your fear, you carefully, and even in spite of that, your mind may repeatedly says, so it may create some fear, some snake may be there, some snake may be there, it may be repeatedly say like that. Then you need not worry about that. You need not pay attention to that. That means you are not observing the fear, you are not observing the functioning of your mind. Just because you have nothing to do with that. It happens on its own. You simply give total freedom to what is happening in your mind. It is not an observation. It is just because you don't have any business with that. But because you have already get the instruction and you apply for the external use and you walk carefully. In spite of that, your mind repeatedly says, well, snake may be there, snake may be there. You need not worry about that. You will not pay any attention to that. Let it be you give total freedom to your mind to say, threaten you, whatever it be. So our intellect alone is on our conscious control. The intellect part is our conscious control. We can use our intellect. For ourselves, we consciously use our intellect.
But who is we?
Our intellect itself.
Itself?
Yes. But everything is part of our consciousness. Consciousness is also there. But even though we are having the consciousness within ourselves, the intellect part alone gets more importance in the intellect part, not the conscious part. Conscious part is only having some feelings. For example, you have your fear, you have your anger, you have your happiness, sorrow. Everything is the intellect. Everything is the conscious part. But the intellect part is only your thinking. But the content of our thinking is only related to our memories. It is not an experience. It is a past experience. Even though it is an experience, it is a past experience. Memory of experience. Our intellect deals with the memory of experience. It is not an actual experience. But our consciousness is having actual experience. But if you name the real I am, the consciousness is the real I am. But the consciousness will never claim I am. And it will not decide anything. It will not think. It is a natural flow. What is happening, our consciousness happening is a natural happening. It will not think like that. It will not think anything. But only the intellect part of our mind alone thinks and claims that I am somebody, I am something. Even though we think I am the consciousness, I am the body, it is also the product of the intellect. The intellect alone says like that. The conscious will not say like that. Even though the consciousness is the real I am, it will not say I am. Mm-hmm. The intellect part alone says I am.
Who gives the intellect life, energy?
Who
gives to the
our consciousness. Intellect. Our consciousness, everything is part of consciousness. The totality is, our mind is made up of two parts. One is consciousness and the other one is intellect. Both jointly together the mind. So the mind itself is a consciousness. The basic structure of our mind is consciousness. It's energy. Consciousness is energy. And within the energy, some part is intellect. The intellect part is also there.
So the I that go to the intellect give their life?
I am?
The I am?
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Give the life.
No, the real I am is our consciousness. The real I am give energy to the false I am. Without the real I am, there cannot be any false I am. I am the real one. The shadow, we have some shadow when we are walking, the shadow is also there. The shadow is the false I am, the intellectual I am. The real I am is our body. The real I am gives possibility of the shadow. The shadow cannot exist for itself. Without the real I am, the shadow cannot exist. The intellectual part is the shadow. It is a memory. It's the past memory. And when the operation of past memory is intellect. But consciousness is not past. It is now. It is here and now. It is our beingness. It is our being. It is our happening. It is not a memory. It is a reality. But the intellectual happenings, the intellectual function is not a reality. Even though the function is a real, but the content of the function is imaginary one. It deals with the past memory. So all the content of the intellect is only past, dead memory. So what is created by memory is only an imagination. It's not a real thing. It's a shadow. And the false I am is a shadow. It is a illusion. It is not a real thing. Real, but we are real. No doubt. We are living, we are having experience, everything. We are real. The problem. But the reality will not claim I am I am this and that. It will not say like that. It will not claim I am. It will not say I am good, I am bad. It will not say like that.
No, that I am.
No, you feel
face. It's not face. behind the I am, we have something more.
When you say something in the name of I am, it is only the intellect part. The intellect alone says I am. The I am means it divides something. It divides you from other thing. It separates something. Thereby, by separation alone, it can understand something. For this reason of understanding, it separates everything. Only by way of separation alone, it can know I am. It can feel I am. So it is the product of the intellect. The reality need not want to know anything because it feels. It need not separate anything. But the intellect part knows everything by separation alone because it is not a feeling. It is an idea. So in the idea alone there must be separation. So all idea must be understood only by separate something. This is this, this is that. So then only you can understand anything because there is no reality in there. But in the conscious level, we know everything. We feel. It is real. We need not separate. Without separation, we can feel. There is no necessity to separate. Only by separation alone, we can know. There is no such necessity. Because we feel ourselves. We feel our feelings.
The intellect that say I am talk name of somebody,
Name of?
somebody, שאומר אני, יש
You claim yourself to be somebody?
This the part of us who say I am and claim there is a I am.
Claim?
Yeah, he said I am. So
I am.
He claimed something. There is an I am. So does he say that behind it? He said it in the name of something inside or somebody inside us? Just talking for something inside of us? Or it just what you saw this? It's not the voice of
יש
something.
עצמאיות,
Have any substance? This I am that claims to be I am. Does it have any real substance? For itself.
Everything is the consciousness. The consciousness is a real substance. But out of that, something is there. For example, you have a mirror, and in the mirror you have some image in this mirror. The mirror is real thing, but the image is also within the mirror. Even in this way, within the mirror, within the consciousness, the intellect part functions. The intellect part is an imaginary part, it is a shadow. Within the consciousness, the shadow functions. If you remove the mirror, the shadow will not be there. The base is the mirror. In this way, the base is our consciousness. Within the consciousness, the shadow also there.
So
The
you say I am the shadow.
The intellectual I am is shadow. Actually, I am the shadow.
I think probably the question is what is the relation between the the real I am and the
There is no real I am because the reality will not claim I am.
okay.
But we say
So you say all I am is
intellectual. The reality
It's
will
an
not.
illusion.
Illusion.
The I am is illusion.
True. Yeah.
or that somebody, the intellect say I am, I am exist.
I am exist because because we claim something is there. We feel there is we feel I am, and there is no problem in it. But when the I am is gets problem when it assumes some responsibility. If the intellectual I am does not claim any responsibility, it is just like everything, just like other thing. It is also comes and goes. But if the intellectual I am claims some responsibility to do something, it becomes powerful. It assumes some responsibility, assumes some power to deal something, to do something. Then only it is powerful. So if it has no business, then even the I am also flows like other thing. Each and every moment a new I am will come, the I am will go here. Everything is just like our feeling, just like our conscious flow. The I am also, the shadow also will go just like the other thing.
Question: how to work with future? How to plan future by intellect, present, just now, and there is no future. How I have this problem? I manage the future things like today. Still in the present, still things are changing. Still, and I don't see a few days and then there is not life. And how practically handle and with the flow.
So the duty or action is related to our intellect. The intellect has to plan, intellect has to think, intellect has every idea, because you may have your flight, you may have your journey, everything you have to plan. It may happen in the future, everything is there, that you have to plan like that. Only with the help of your mind you can plan. Only with the help of your intellect you can plan. But you cannot plan to go along with the flow. But you need not worry about that. If you do not take any responsibility, the flow will happen naturally. The conscious flow will happen naturally. For that you need not to plan. If you plan to go along with the flow, thereby you are disturbing the flow. Because it has nothing to do with the conscious flow. Consciousness is always in the flowing. We need not encourage flowing. We need not plan flowing.
I'm planning by intellect, but the flow is changing and changing. I see this plan was not I
right
took a different plan, and I see it's different.
Plan is related to what?
To
External things or psychological matters?
plan is related to psychological and so some external. For example, if I do to change special date of flight to handle emails, and I see when I'm trying to do that this time I cannot get a connection. Next day, okay, I wait, I see what presents brought to me, what should stay. So it's like I don't have it in my head. What's going on? What's happening? Not enough information, yes, because this information will happen next. Psychological, on one side good, on the other side I have fear because I don't know.
To be one with your consciousness, so what you feel and try now is then you cannot future because if you
Yeah, this is what I wanted to
change.
Yeah, this is changing.
But the future is related to the external things or the psychological things?
all the time you said is for outside world.
All right.
And they're guiding, and we can think things and planning and shadow of something need of this life anyway. And we are here.
We are here.
But he said, if I want to live this way, just give the reality to be true in my life now, and be a part of my consciousness in my life. I want for my consciousness.
At present, tell me, just wait. In the mind is still fear if I miss something.
If you wait, you cannot act.
Yes,
So if you
yes,
don't
yes.
do that and that, this is the intellect. But the inner feeling said, just
The inner feeling will not say everything is good. It will not say anything. But it is the words of the intellect itself. You say everything is good. It is not the word of the consciousness. It is also the word of the intellect. The intellect alone says something, because here consciousness will not say anything. It has no language. It is only experience. It is a feeling. Your fear, anger, sorrow, suffering is just a feeling. It has no language. Only feeling, only experience. But all our language is related to the intellect part. The intellect part has the area, has the jurisdiction, only the external world. External world you can think, you can plan. But it always thinks that I should not have any fear, I should be happy always. Then only it takes everything, it takes the consciousness in the hand. It takes the jurisdiction of the changing the consciousness in the hand. But that alone we should not do. The intellect should not do. The intellect has to understand, I have no jurisdiction upon my own consciousness. The intellect need not watch, intellect need not take part of the conscious work. It has no business.
and the consciousness.
The consciousness has no plate, no plan, no fear, it has no part. Only the intellect alone has the part. No, the conscious is only experience. Whatever we feel, whatever you do, you go along with anything, you have some experience on your own. The conscious experience is a natural thing. It is only a real thing. But it is only our intellect part is only planning. It plans. It may select, it may divide, it may inquire, it may decide something. Everything is in the part of intellect. And the intellect may plan anything externally, but if it may plan. But if you plan against the conscious happening, then it will not work. It has no jurisdiction.
I think most often what happens is try to choose between 2 or 3 things that I think will make us happy, and there's a confusion about it whether I should do that. Who is playing the role there? It's intellect, right?
Intellect.
The
Intellect alone has the capacity to comparing, deciding, evaluation. Everything is in the area of the intellect. But the consciousness there is no such option.
Like wanting to be happy.
No, everything.
Where would you place that?
No, wanting to happy is the intellect. Is the word. It is the language of intellect.
Okay.
But feeling happy, that this is consciousness.
No,
And
what we
is then
feel.
consciousness.
What we feel alone is our consciousness. Experience, the actual experience.
Intellect life in time.
No, intellect creates
Life
time.
in time.
Time. Intellect alone creates time, space, and everything.
Yes.
But here, in reality, there is no time, space. It is here and now.
It's out.
Out of time, out of space.
Yes.
What do you suggest? Let's say in a lot of situations in life they are involving the psychological aspect and the practical aspect. Most of our choices or our dilemmas will be tighten up. You suggest that we, in a way, separate between our inner psychological happening to what we should do.
But here, the intellect has to understand its limitations,
Yeah.
and it has no duty, except because it is happening. It is beyond its control. So you have to understand this conscious happening is beyond the control of the intellect. So the conscious is happening beyond our control. If you understand that everything goes out of your control, then you don't try. You will not do anything. If you think everything is under your control, then only you try to do something. If you feel everything is not under your control, then you will not do anything. So in this case of consciousness, if you understand that I have no control over my consciousness, I have no control over my conscious feelings, then you will not try.
Okay.
So you have to keep yourself without any effort. That is the end of everything.
Then decisions will follow, will happen.
Yeah, if you decide what you decide, that you have to express.
Yeah.
You'll have some.
But this will be also kind of a natural happening, because if I relinquish my role in trying to make things good, trying to make things work, trying to make it the best choice, if I just stand, it doesn't matter how much I try, things will.
Externally,
It will not affect.
externally or psychologically?